Hey y'all, and welcome back to the channel. So have you ever wondered what it was like to work as a flight attendant? Well, in today's video, we're going to take a look at former flight attendants who decided to quit their jobs, and they give us a scoop on what it was really like being a flight attendant. Let's take a look.
Training will literally destroy you. And I'm gonna be so for real right now. During training, it's incredibly hard to eat healthy and work out and be on top of your healthy lifestyle because it's such long days. This is me on my last week of training. You can see how wide and full my face looks. Look at my bags and how tired I look. And it's just, here's another one. This is me fresh out of training, graduated. I think it was like the first week that I got home. And look how brittle and weak my hair is. Look at the difference right now. Look at my hair. This is like day 4 curl. This is literally day 4 curls. And this was a fresh, wash day the day after. That's supposed to be the best day, right? And look how tired I am. It's crazy. This is graduation day. Again, I was so happy, super excited, but look how full my face is. Okay, so this is not too scary, but to let you know and mentally prepare y'all that training is no joke.
I quit my job as a flight attendant 8 months ago. I'm not going to disclose the name of the airline that I worked for, but if you're new here, you can go scroll down a few videos and see the uniform that I had on, and then do with that information what you will. January 1st, 2024, I decided to quit my job as a flight attendant. There were many reasons why I quit my job, but the straw that broke the camel's back was the hotel that they put me in. So it was New Year's Day, and I had worked, I think, about 2 flights. It was a turn. It was Fort Lauderdale to somewhere up north, that place to Miami. So for those of you who don't know what it means to be based in a certain city, that just means where you start and end your trips. So that's where you report for work. I was based in Fort Lauderdale. We landed in Miami, and I was a part of a crew, but only for that trip. The next day, I would be with a new crew. And if you didn't know, you never work with the same crew, like all the time. You're always working with somebody new. We get to their hotel. We get to the hotel, and I go to check in, and they're like, yeah, your name's not on here. Like, I didn't think anything of it because that's happened before, because being on reserve, you're a replacement, you're last minute. So there's plenty of times where you get to the hotel and your name's not on the list because it was such a last minute thing. So we get to the hotel, and they're just telling me, you're not on the list, you're not on the list, you're not on the list. I'm like, all right, this has happened before. Can you guys keep checking? They check, they check, they check. They say that I'm not on the list. I check my hotel. I compare it to the other flight attendants from the crew that I flew with, and they're like, oh, you're at like East and we're at West. It's the same exact hotel. One is East, one is West. So I have to call crew scheduling, and I'm just like, how am I gonna get to this hotel because I'm not calling an Uber? They call me a Lyft. The Lyft gets there. I get to the next hotel, check in. I open the door to the room, and I'm immediately disgusted. I call my mom. I call my sister. I'm hysterically crying on the phone with them, explaining to them, look at this hotel room. Does this look like a hotel room that I can stay in? Number one, if you don't know me, I like luxury, and I will pay for luxury, and I will pay for convenience. Not everybody is like that, but I am. I'm just like, yeah, I'm not staying here. And then I contemplated, okay, I'm in Miami. I do live in South Florida. It's gonna be about a 2-hour drive. What if I just go home? Because I did not have another job lined up. Well, I did, but I'll get into that later. So in my head, I'm like, I don't have another job lined up. I can't quit today. But I was like, why would I go 2 hours home to have to wake up even earlier than I would have had to wake up tomorrow morning for my report time just to make it to the airport on time? Why would I inconvenience myself to convenience myself when the company could have just convenienced me in the first place? So I was like, yeah, no, I'm not staying here tonight. I honestly don't even care to work this job anymore. So I quit. I called crew scheduling. I found out what I had to do in order to resign, and I resigned on the spot. It took forever for them to get my accommodations to come and get me from the airport, not the airport, to come and get me from the hotel and drive me to the Fort Lauderdale airport. But I finally got to the Fort Lauderdale airport. I went to the crew room, I turned in my belongings, and I walked out. No longer an employee at that airline. But I view it as a good thing. It was literally January 1st, 2024. I feel like that was God. Like, that couldn't have been nobody but God, because the first day of the new year, and I quit my job. Clock it. So with that being said, that's why I quit my job as a flight attendant.
Hello. I wanted to hop on here and make a part 2 or a follow-up video of why I quit my dream job as a flight attendant. First of all, thank you so much for all of the support you guys have given me. I had so many positive comments telling me that you felt the exact same way. And I had a lot of people actually thanking me for shedding light on this side of the airline industry, because I truly feel like it is not shown how lonely the job truly is. I will start out by talking about the loneliness aspect of the job. I can already hear other flight attendants in the comments right now saying, the job is what you make it, you have to go out, you have to make friends. That is not always the case. There are going to be times where you work with a crew that you do not get along with. Every time you get on a plane to start your trip, you are meeting a brand new crew. And it's usually a crew of 4 people, so 3 brand new people you have never met. If you don't get along with them and you don't want to hang out, or they don't want to hang out, you are on your own for the entirety of that trip. That being said, I went out by myself so many times. I would go walk around the city, I would go see sights on my own, and that's completely fine. But when it's day after day and you are alone, it truly does start taking a toll. I worked for the airline industry for 5 years, and I will say that I would go out on my own, eat by myself in a restaurant, or take food to go and go eat alone in my hotel room. When you wake up, when you go to sleep, you are by yourself. You do not have any interaction with other people unless you're gonna be on a phone call or on a FaceTime with your family back home. If you are on a long layover for, I don't know, sometimes 18 to 24 hours, and your crew does not want to hang out with you, you can sit in your room or you can go out alone. But again, you are by yourself. I have gotten very comfortable with doing things on my own, but when you have a family, or if you have a loved one, fiance, partner, whoever back home, and you are just alone and you just want to go home because you've been on a trip for 4 days and no one wants to hang out, it truly does take its toll on you. So I did want to shed some light on the loneliness aspect, because you really are, at the end of the day, you are by yourself in a city that you probably have not been before, and it can be scary, and you really can feel alone when you are in a different place. Okay, let's just get right back into why I quit my dream job as a flight attendant. I wasn't 100% sure that I wanted to quit, and it was so hard to get the job initially, so I decided I wanted to take a personal leave of absence. Before I asked for the leave of absence, I did have FMLA. I was calling out sick a lot, and it got to the point where I had a manager call me and just say, hey, you haven't worked in a really long time, like, is everything okay? And I did explain to them that I was having like severe like depression, anxiety. I do have FMLA. But I explained to this manager, she was super nice. I explained to her like that's why I hadn't been going to work. I was just super anxious, like I just couldn't bring myself to go to work. And her suggestion was, maybe you should apply for a personal leave. And I was like, okay, I can do that. And she told me the steps to go through to apply for the personal leave. What I thought was a pretty good email explaining my situation and telling them why I wanted this personal leave. Their response was like a copy and paste. It was so not personal. It was, the only thing that was personalized was my name. Nothing to the extent of, oh, I'm so sorry that you're feeling that way. Like, can we get you some resources? Nothing. I'm gonna post the screenshots, but if you don't feel like reading them, essentially I told them I was depressed, I was anxious, I actually was fearing for my safety. If you haven't seen TikToks or anything on the news recently, there are passengers assaulting flight attendants almost daily. This has become the new normal, and like, again, I have anxiety. It's through the roof. I'm afraid I'm gonna get punched in the face on a flight for telling somebody to put their seatbelt on. But essentially, the bottom line is that this airline does not care about their employees. They don't care about their mental health, and they will not give you a personal leave if you need it. After I was denied my personal leave, I was contacted by a manager, a different one. It was a male manager this time, and he was just kind of like, well, I saw you were denied your leave. Like, now what's going on? I need an answer right away. I was crying on the phone to this man, trying to explain everything I had explained to the previous manager, crying, explaining everything, and he was just like, okay, well, we need an answer. Are you quitting or not? So basically, that conversation led to me actually putting in my resignation. I'll put the screenshots right now. This is my email to my company asking for a personal leave. As you can see, there are a lot of personal details in here as to why I wanted this leave. And this was their response.
Can we talk about flight attendants not reporting each other? However, I'm on the verge of reporting a crew scheduler. Would it be appropriate for me to report a crew scheduler? Because yesterday, I almost had a meltdown. Actually, I did have a meltdown. Everybody had a meltdown. Every line holder, every reserve, every flight attendant had a meltdown because crew scheduling was on a power trip and they were fucking feeling themselves. Because tell me why I called a crew scheduler and I'm telling him, I'm not going to make it to work because my flight just diverted and I'm a commuter. So under a commuter policy, I should be protected. And he places me on a brief hold, forgets to put me on hold. And the man is having a side conversation laughing. Gets back to me, still laughing, telling me, oh, you got to make it to work. I'm like, I'm not going to make it to work. I'm stuck in Baltimore. I can't make it to work. And he's like, well, you have to make it to work. I'm like, take the trip off my fucking line. And he's like, no, you have to make it to work. They put me to work. They put me to work a domestic trip, which is my karma. It was long due, and it happened. And tell me why. I see a lot of reserves, a lot of line holder flight attendants stranded at the airport, sleeping at the airport. We were sleeping at the airport because they refused to give us hotels because they said, oh, there's no availability. So you, Alex, not only were you laughing at my own demise.
I quit my job. I'm no longer a flight attendant. This was a bittersweet decision as it's such an amazing job and I met the most amazing people. But like anything, there are pros and cons. For me, the cons outweighed the pros. So I decided to leave. There were a lot of reasons for this, but the main reasons are shift work. That alone should explain it. You'll be working at any hour of any day, of any week. It changes every day. It changes every week. And I found that in itself to be really exhausting. Second, aviation is a 24-hour industry. It never stops. So because of this, because of shift work and also having hundreds of employees, it makes the job really hard for it to be flexible. Hard to get time off and it's hard to swap shifts. You have to put in notice for your annual leave months in advance. And even then it might not get approved. The rostering system was also based off preferences. So every month you can put in your preferences for what you wanted, like weekends off, early starts, late starts, longer sectors, short sectors, whatever you wanted, but they were preferences. So they weren't always guaranteed. So if you had something on, if you had basketball every Wednesday at 10 p.m., not that you would have basketball at 10 p.m., but you could ask to have every Wednesday off, but it's not guaranteed. So it's kind of hard in that way. It also is really hard to swap shifts with people, especially being shift work. The shifts kind of have to align with your roster and their roster, whether they're on a day trip, whether they're on 3-day trip, you need a 3-day trip to swap with them. There's a lot that goes into shift swapping as well. They need to make sure that you have enough days off, that you have enough rest time in between your shifts. So it's a little bit hard to swap shifts with people, and a lot of the time they don't get approved because of those reasons. So it is a bit hard to plan your life around the job. It is doable, but it's just a little bit harder. Thirdly was just how unpredictable the job kind of is. It's aviation. Nothing is guaranteed. Your shift for that day is not even guaranteed. Whatever you have tomorrow, it's not guaranteed. Anything can change at any second. 1 minute you might just be going in for a day shift. Next minute, you might be away for 4 days. You don't know what's going to happen. They can pretty much send you anywhere at any time. Obviously, there are rules around that, but basically they can just change your roster. They can change whatever shifts that you have. So that just makes it harder to obviously plan your life. We only get our rosters a month in advance. So after that month, you don't know where you're going to be. If you're going to be away on an overnight, or if you're on standby days. So when you're on standby days, you don't really know where you're going or what you're doing. I like to be organized. I like to know what I'm doing. And lastly, I just love being at home. I'm a homebody. So as much fun as it is going away on overnights, exploring new places and things like that, I started to dread it in the end, and I didn't want to go away. I didn't want to leave my partner, just wanted to be at home with him. And when I was away in these hotels, all I was thinking about was, I want to be at home. I'm not even enjoying it here anymore. So if I'm not really enjoying that aspect of the job, that's kind of what people do the job for. Being a flight attendant is a very unique job, and I feel like you don't really understand the job unless you've done it before. It is such an amazing job, and it can be the best job in the world, and it can be so much fun at times. I like to say to people who are thinking about doing flight attending, not really a job or not really a career, kind of say it's more of a lifestyle. And it is a great lifestyle at that, but it's a lifestyle on their terms, on your employer's terms, because you could be in Bali one day and you could be in Fiji the next week, or you could be in Perth. And like, that's great. That's a great lifestyle. You're basically traveling for free. You get to go to all these amazing places, but it's not on your own time. Do you know what I mean? So it is a really great lifestyle, but you have to adapt to their kind of lifestyle, if you get what I mean. So if you can adapt, and if you can kind of just surrender to, you know, whatever shifts they want to give you, wherever they want to send you, then you will love the job and you'll probably stay in the job forever. But I just couldn't adapt to that, and I just couldn't really make the shift work for me. I will definitely miss flying, and I'm so grateful to have had this opportunity. It definitely pushed me outside of my comfort zone, and I met so many people that I would never have met before. But now it's time for my next chapter.
I was tired. I was exhausted. Okay, some days I literally felt like I was dying. I was flying and working like 12, 16-hour shifts. Okay, and there were a lot of unpaid hours. Now, we don't really talk about in the aviation industry, but I'm not really gonna go there. And so after a while, I knew, okay, it was time. My business started to do well. In fact, that year that I quit my flight attendant job, which was in 2022, can I sit over there? Let me sit over here while I chit chat with y'all. Hold on. Okay, y'all, I found a little spot in our community. I don't know if I noticed this spot. I love this little village, y'all. It's a little park in the middle, and it has like a little gazebo. It's so quiet and peaceful. Like, do you hear anything? It's so quiet. I love it here. Anyway, as I was saying, I was tired, exhausted, and I was ready to call it quits. And in fact, I thought about quitting for an entire year. I guess I'll call this my personal story, right? Thought about quitting for an entire year. I was exhausted. I was having anxiety. Didn't really want to show up for work much. You know, we all have our own issues and things going on, right? We do. And I thought about quitting for an entire year. And God basically showed up and showed me, you actually really don't need this job, right? And I believe that, you know, having a job can be a beautiful thing. It's a means to an end, okay? And I believe that we should use our jobs as leverage and, you know, think big picture, right? I mean, if by all means you choose to stay at a job, stay, but I believe that everyone should have a bigger picture. Use the job as a stepping stone, and nothing is wrong with that, right? So anyway, for an entire year, my business started to really do well. I was thriving in business. I was making passive income, like true. When I tell you true passive income, y'all, I would be on a flight. By the time I'm done with my flight, went to my hotel, checked my sales, my online income, money, bookings because I was doing Airbnb as well. People were buying my stuff online, my Airbnbs were getting booked. The girl was making passive income, okay? True passive income. And so I was like, I really don't need to work. I really don't need to show up. And so for an entire year, I thought about quitting, and so God was like, let it go. It's fine. It's okay. You know, you are not thriving. It's no longer really serving you. And that's just the truth, y'all. The job was no longer serving me. And I still have flight attendant friends, which I love dearly. And it is an exciting job. I'm not saying anything is necessarily wrong with the industry. I'm just saying for me personally, it was no longer serving me as an individual. And so God started to show up. And that year that I quit September 2022, my business was projected to make 6 figures in just 6 months. And by the end of the month, my business did make 6 figures in just 6 months. Okay, and so that was confirmation that I could let my job go. Not saying that you have to wait until you hit 6 figures to leave your job. It could work even prior to, but I'm just saying for me that made sense because I was entering a season of my life where I wanted to start preparing myself for a certain type of presence in my home, right? For when we started a family and all of that, which we eventually did the following year, 2023. And so I said that to say, I realized that what I truly wanted to do was escape America. And I'll share a little bit more later on, but the hustle culture was no longer for me. I no longer wanted to live an overwhelming life that was all about hustle and limited support, and like hiring help just seemed like such a barrier, even though yes, we were doing okay. Like hiring help and like just living, being in the US just started to become such a strain. I'll be honest. Even someone who did well somewhat, I would say did well financially at some points. As an entrepreneur, business fluctuates, right? Sometimes you have great seasons, sometimes you have not so great seasons. Some months there's not really much going on. It depends on what's happening. Especially like during my pregnancy, I kind of slowed down business a lot last year. But in the US, it's like, if you're not at like, not even six figures, because right now, in 2024, even if you make six figures, I mean, with the cost of living right now, honey, you better be making 7 and 8 figures, okay? But not even that, just the quality of life, y'all, that I'm able to have here in Thailand, it is amazing. It is amazing. This is something that I probably wouldn't have been doing in the US in the middle of the day. I just went to I just redid my eyelashes, jumped on a Grab, which was amazing, so freeing, like I said before. Jumped on a Grab, walked in my village, and now I'm just out here in the park chilling and chatting with you guys. This is something that I probably would not have done, definitely wouldn't have done in the US, right? And just having better support here and having it more affordable here, from cleaning my house to having support with our baby boy, it's just so much better here. And not just that, not just the affordability, but the quality. When I tell you, the quality of service here is unmatched. Truly in the US, things have just become, it's almost like you'll be paying your money for something and it still would feel like they're just doing you a favor for free. Like, okay, there you go, I'm doing you a favor, even though you're spending your hard-earned money. That's how the quality of service started to feel in the US. And if you know, if you've experienced it, you know what I'm talking about, right? Here in other parts of the world, not just Thailand, where I'm living, people value giving quality service. It's just customary. It's customary to hire help. Even the local Thai people hire help. It's not just foreigners that come here and hire help. And nothing is wrong with that. We don't have to do everything ourselves. We don't have to clean the entire house, especially if you're living in a big old house, right? You don't have to clean the entire house and do the dishes every time and, do everything, right? It's okay to hire help. Employers hire help, right? Business owners hire help. As a business owner, I appreciate that too. You don't have to do everything. In fact, you shouldn't do everything. You're going to be burnt out, and there's no way you're going to be able to truly scale, when you're doing every single aspect of your business. When you hire help, you get to focus on your zone of genius and have other people with their own zone of genius focus on that aspect of the business, and your business will be able to scale and grow even further without you stretching yourself thin. Okay, so that's why it's so important to hire help in your business. And even as a mom, a woman, outsource whenever you can, honey. You're not gonna get a prize for doing every single thing yourself. I know it feels noble, to be able to do it, but I know as a mom, it gets tiring. We love our babies, but we also need time for ourselves to rest. But anyway, say that to say, I'm super excited. I'm doing a training, right? I'm doing a training coming up. Please look out for that, because I'm going to be unlocking the untold truth about moving abroad and how you can simplify your process with moving abroad. I'm going to be sharing with you my framework, my simple framework, right, with being able to move abroad. And not only that, y'all, I'm going to be covering how you can not only get there, not only get to your dream destination and live abroad, create the life that you love abroad, but how you can sustain yourself have a sustained income, have an income stream coming in while you're living abroad, wherever in the world you choose to. This is something you do not want to miss. It is going to be an unmatched training, because when it comes to business, I'm wholesome. If you've ever worked with me, you know that I'm wholesome. I don't want to just share with you the simple framework how you can get there to your dream destination, right? But I want to share with you how you can continue to thrive, in your dream destination and live a life of ease. And so I was doing business content. I was focused, I would say, on the whole business credit aspect of things, but now I'm just in a season of my life where this comes natural to me. It's easy. Travel is literally a part of me. It has been a part of my lifestyle for the past maybe 7-8 years. And my mental health has become so much better. I know what travel does for me, leaving the US, being out of the US, stepping foot out of the US. I know what that does for me and my mental health, and what it's doing now for my family, myself and my family, with living abroad. And so, I'm way over my time. Oh my goodness. And so I forgot that this is for TikTok and not just for YouTube. And so I want to share with you how you can create your dream life abroad as well. So join me in my free training.
Obviously, based off of the title of this video, I got fired from my job as a flight attendant. And I know that I don't owe anyone on the internet an explanation. I kind of feel like I need to talk about it for the sake of my sanity. And also because I feel like, well, one, if this video can help the next flight attendant maybe not get fired, that'll make me feel a little bit better. Not a whole lot better, but it'll make me feel a little bit better. And then two, because I feel like every video I've made, I've always tried to be as honest and transparent as I can possibly be with all the different experiences I've had. Because I feel like sometimes with social media, we can shy away from being honest about life experiences and the things that happen. Like, we're always so quick to share the wins and the good, and like our high moments, which there's nothing wrong with that. But when we experience unfortunate events like losing our jobs, losing a relationship, or whatever that looks like, we're not as open to talk about it. And that's valid. Not everybody wants to broadcast their failures or the downfalls in their life. But me personally, I pride myself on being honest about my experiences, whether they're good or bad. Because at the end of the day, we're human and shit happens and we lose our jobs. And that's just a part of it. And if me being vulnerable and open and honest can help the next person who might just be going through the same exact thing as me, if it can help them just a little bit, it'll give me a sense of accomplishment, knowing that my honesty and my transparency was able to encourage or help the next person. Whether we want to admit it or not, everybody's experiencing a little bit of something in their life. And I don't share every single bad thing that happens to me, but if that was the case, babe, this TikTok would be a lot longer than 10 minutes. But I was very quick and eager to share the fact that I got my dream job as a flight attendant with you guys. So now that that journey has unfortunately come to an end, I just feel like it's only right to just be honest about where I'm at now and what's going on and what's next. I'm not going to go into like full-blown detail about why I lost my job. Long story short, I missed a deadhead. Because of that, I got a non-working occurrence. Like, it's a non-working SAD is what my job refers to it as, but it's a non-working occurrence. For my specific company, your probation era is a year long. So while you are in probation, you cannot get a non-working occurrence. And since I received a non-working occurrence while in my probation era, I was unfortunately terminated. And it's also because I, back in like January, I forgot my badge, which made me late for my flight. And I received an occurrence for that, but it wasn't a non-working occurrence. It was just an occurrence, which we're allowed to have. Because I had that previous occurrence and now this non-working occurrence, I was told my reliability was a concern and I was terminated. And I probably should have started off saying this, but I was working for SkyWest Airlines. And if you're anybody that's considering working for SkyWest, or you are working for SkyWest, one, they are a great company. I'm not gonna shit on them or say anything bad, because I thoroughly enjoyed my time working there and I thought it was an amazing airline. Unfortunately, my career was short-lived, and it's disappointing, but it doesn't make them a terrible airline. However, what I will say is that if you're very new, or you're in your probation era, or you're in training, or you're thinking about, the advice I have for you is to be very, very, very careful during year one. Be very, very, very careful during year one. Year one it's almost like anything and everything you do can get you fired. And I wish that I was, for example, admin is going to tell you that you have 5 occurrences, 3 personal, 2 doctors, or 3 doctors, 2 personal, however you want to do it, but you get a total of 5 in your first year. My advice to you is, if you can, not to use any of them at all. And I'm not saying you can't use them. I'm just saying try your best to not use any of your occurrences. And if you do have to use an occurrence for any reason, what I was told by admin is that they want to see 1 occurrence per quarter. So you only need to be using 1 occurrence every 4 months. That's typically what they want to see, which is rational. You know, I can't argue with that. I just wish I had a better understanding of that, because I didn't know that. I was told, hey, you have 5, and I kind of just thought it was free will. Not that I had used all, I had only used 2, but because I had used 1 in December and 1 in February, they were just too close to one another to overlook. So just be cautious of your occurrences and how you use them, because that can get you fired. And again, I don't think they're a terrible company in the slightest bit. I do wish that I could have been given the opportunity for redemption, but they have a policy they would stick by, and although I don't necessarily agree with it, I gotta respect it. So yeah, y'all, that's tea. Unfortunately, not really the tea that I wanted to give y'all, but this is what it is for the time being. But yeah, for anybody that's going through something similar, whether you work for an airline, a corporate job, whatever that looks like, as cliche as this sounds, you'll get through it. It'll be okay. If you did it once, you can do it again. That's the thing that's kind of getting me through this. I'm like, if I did it once, I can do it again and again and again. And I don't know everybody's spiritual beliefs, but I'm a firm believer that God doesn't put me through anything that I can't handle. And more importantly, I'm just learning to trust in God and trust in the process, and allowing him to just guide me to what is for me. And yeah, but yeah, this is really all I got, y'all. That's the tea. But I do have a couple interviews tomorrow, because y'all know Big Mama don't play no games about her money, okay? For anybody and everybody who's checked on me, I love y'all so much and I appreciate you. But I gotta go, so I will talk to y'all later. Bye.